Okay.
Welcome to Let's Be Frank. It's our 10th podcast, which is quite exciting. We've made it to 10. And today we're going to be talking about persistence. And a few things surrounding that, I suppose.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about persistence because we focus a lot on goals. We focus a lot on accountability. And I think the one thing that we forget to talk about is, well, how do we make sure that we reach those goals?
Yeah.
Whether those are personal goals or whether they're business goals, whether it's a specific task that you committed to, which is really where our main focus is in terms of improving delivery, in terms of our formula.
Yeah.
Simple,
Excellence.
significant, with skin in the game.
Yeah.
Excellence, and also some of our values that speak to that.
Yeah.
So main focus and drive for us for this year is to improve delivery.
Yeah.
And that's about interrogating the processes that we follow, making sure that we question the status quo constantly. But when we do those things, I think the one thing that we really neglect is about what does it take for us to get from making a decision about what we're going to do and actually delivering
The
on
action. Yeah. Execution.
it. The execution.
Yeah.
And that's where persistence comes in. Persistence comes in.
Yeah.
So we see that in our personal lives with wanting
Gym.
to change a habit, adopting a new habit. And it all comes down to persistence. If you look at persistence and what the synonyms, what are the other words that you associate with persistence?
Gosh, I've just gone completely blank. But I'm just thinking, in terms of persistence, is one of the things that helps me personally is celebrating the small wins. I'm thinking in terms of my fitness and gym, and I'm on Vitality, and I get the updates, and you get goals and rewards, and I find that when I'm on a streak and I'm doing well, I want to keep that up. So I think that's quite a nice way of putting it as well, is like, how do you celebrate those small wins so that you know that you're going to keep at it?
Correct, and it comes back to being those personal little celebrations.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the team that must celebrate.
Yeah.
So if you think about what is it that every individual must do to make sure that they stay on track? How do I celebrate my little wins? Because I also have certain goals.
Yeah.
I have lots of different goals, and I track some of those goals diligently.
Yeah.
And I find that when I don't track myself, those are the ones that I slip.
Yeah.
Or I let slide, and I think, well, you know what, I haven't done that for 2 or 3 days. It's okay, I'll get back to it. But the ones where I consistently check myself against on a daily basis, it really helps me to maintain that persistence.
Yeah. And so that's a personal accountability, but we also have the external accountability. I know we've done a few things in the past where some people require that external accountability, and I know I'm one of those people. I need someone to be accountable to. I'm not very good at being accountable to myself.
Well, it's easier to bullshit yourself.
Yeah.
So some form of external accountability can actually be writing down something for yourself on a daily basis. How did I do that? If I decide that I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes, do I actually keep track of that?
Yeah.
So it's great when we're comfortable enough to get somebody else involved and say, hey, I need some help with accountability. And that's really part of what we're trying to foster within the teams.
Yeah.
And across the organization is to keep each other accountable.
Yeah.
And we still have some work to do to get to that point. But for me, it all starts with personal accountability. If I can get myself to hold myself accountable, to be persistent in the things that I say that I'm going to do, it makes it easier to hold others accountable. And that's an angle that we haven't really explored.
No. And I think also persistence is one of those things that the more you keep doing something and the more you're achieving those small wins, the easier it gets. So it's about pushing through that really difficult first phase. The example that I'm using is gym. It's the getting into a habit of going to gym once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. And once you're in that habit, it's a lot easier to go 3 times a week or whatever.
Yeah, and that obviously starts with the goal.
Yeah.
Why is it that you want to go
Yeah.
to gym? Well, because everybody else says you must go to gym, then you're not going
Yeah.
to succeed. But when you have a goal, and something that I heard in a recent conversation that really struck a note with me was somebody said that, well, you know what, the Summer Olympic Games, the date for that is set.
Yeah.
It's not going to move. You and I have no control over that. If I want to get on the team, if I want to participate in it, I must make sure that I must do all the necessary things
Yeah.
to make sure that I'm ready, that I qualify in time, and so on and so forth. So it's about what is that goal and making sure that you're clear about that goal. And another thing, I think we're going to hear a lot of cliches in this podcast, but the thing about cliches is that there's
They're
definitely
cliches for a reason.
They're cliches for a reason. There's some truth in it.
Yeah.
Is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So we obviously have a big focus on how our teams perform and how individuals in the teams perform. But the truth of it is how you do anything in your personal life.
Yeah.
If you show persistence in your personal life, you will show persistence in your work life.
Yeah.
If you're not good at following through on any of your commitments outside of work,
Yeah.
you're definitely going to struggle here. And that's really something which I've become more aware of, and I would like our teams,
Yeah.
our people to become more aware of, is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. I also feel like it comes back to something we've spoken about a couple of times in other podcasts, is it's not about making a huge change and uprooting your life and changing the way you do things completely. It's those small incremental changes that will get you to that long-term goal.
Yes.
Yeah. Because trying to drastically change it is just going to scare you.
Yeah, and you mentioned in your
Yeah.
in your gym
Yeah.
example is don't go for, I'm going to go to gym 7 days a week
Yeah.
and I'm going to train for 2 hours a day. That's not going
You
to
won't
work.
be able to get out of bed.
Yes. But if you set that goal for, I'm going
Yeah.
to go once a week and I'm going to exercise for 15 minutes, it's something that you can really stick to.
Yeah.
And it will build on that confidence and it'll get you there. So most of us can easily do more than just once a week in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the areas where we would like to see people improve, there's some disciplines that you can put in place to
Yeah.
do it on a daily basis. So a little formula for success that I saw that I really like. I like it so much that it's written in my little pocketbook.
Book of everything.
My little book of everything is that success equals resilience over failure.
Yeah.
So you have to be resilient as well. If you made a commitment and you said that this is what I want to achieve, and you don't manage to get to it, so if that persistence is not quite there in the beginning, I mean, that's where resilience comes in.
Yeah.
You have to be resilient. You have to be able to say, well, you know what, I screwed up, or I didn't stick to my commitment. Understand why. Sometimes it is out of our control. Then you just accept it and move on. But it is about the resilience, about being able to pick up again and try again.
Yeah.
And don't let the failure get you down, which is also
Yeah.
something that we spoke about quite often.
Yeah. And eventually with that formula, you'll minimize the amount of failures by being persistent and increasing your resilience, I suppose. That's the...
I don't think that there's anybody that cannot give you a great example of how they actually managed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a skill, just like any other skill, that with a little bit of practice we'll get better at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We know, and we speak about it quite often, that we see a lot of improvement, whether it's in individuals or whether it's in teams, where people are starting to apply those disciplines.
Yeah.
And starting to see those successes.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing change. I think that's and positive change.
There's another cliche,
yeah.
and the only constant is change.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing people that are more open to it and are prepared to make changes in themselves in order to improve the delivery and improve the team. So.
One of the other things that I started noticing just in conversations that I had was that people are starting to be a little bit more self-aware.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great starting point for anything that you want to change.
Yeah.
If I am aware of why I behave in a certain way, why I do things in a certain way, why I do certain things, it helps create that clarity in setting that goal of why I want to change, what it is I want to change.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's awesome.
What else have you got for us?
Well, I just keep going back to some of my own things every time you're saying the self-awareness and but yeah, I do think that it's great. I'm seeing it with individuals in our team. People are acknowledging, and it's what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, the conscious incompetence. We're at that second point in the little matrix.
Yeah.
And once they're there, then they can start becoming consciously competent and then go through that system again. And I think it's great because you can actually see examples of it happening.
Yeah, that's a good analogy to use, that little matrix of moving from unconsciously incompetent to conscious incompetence. And how we get from conscious incompetence to conscious competence is really where the persistence play a huge role.
Yeah, so I found a really great quote from our favorite Patrick Lencioni, the author of 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And he said, "Success is not a matter of mastering subtle, sophisticated theory, but rather of embracing common sense with uncommon levels of discipline and persistence." And I think that that's so great because we talk a lot about common sense and using your common sense. In all of these things we're trying to implement and we're trying to change and improve in our organization, that you must also use that level of common sense. and then I like the idea of the uncommon levels of discipline and persistence. Because we can't have it without discipline. There's that other thing, autonomy without... Oh, I can't remember the quote, but it was something about chaos. Autonomy without...
But autonomy or freedom without responsibility is anarchy.
Yes,
that's another way of putting it. Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah, so you do need the discipline as part of it.
You know, I'm a huge fan of common sense. If that was something that you could buy, I'd buy bags full. But it's so true. I love the use of common sense and uncommon levels of discipline. We know that we have smart people.
Yeah.
We know that everyone is capable of what we're expecting of them.
Yeah.
It's about just applying these simple little disciplines.
Yeah, very simple. And they keep coming up in everything. So this comes back to the holding each other accountable. That's how we encourage this discipline and persistence, is keep asking each other how you're doing and encouraging one another to do better.
Yeah, and we've always found that one to be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
But I think we're making good progress there.
I can see, like I keep saying, I can see the changes. They're small, but you can see them happening. And as we mentioned, it's the small incremental changes that are going to be significant.
And maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to celebrating those.
Yeah.
When we see them, when as leadership team or as any individual in the team, when we notice something like that, to make people aware of it.
Yeah. So this was Let's Be Frank About Persistence, episode 10, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.